Good morning, students. This is Economics, and I am Vaibhav Shah. Hope all of you are safe at your home. Please stay at your home and don't go outside. Let us start with chapter number 2 of subject Economics, that is Fundamental Concepts and Terminologies. We'll cover chapter number 1 afterwards because it is basic terminologies of economics, while here in chapter number 2 we are going to discuss about some important concepts and terminologies of economics which will be useful in further chapters. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. First of all, in introduction, economics studies the rational behavior of human beings. It means whenever we are studying economics, it covers the human behavior. Economics is a science which is based on human behavior. So, it is the study of rational behavior of human beings. Rational behavior means the behavior of a person where he can understand what is right or wrong, or what is good for him and what is not. In the context of rationality, it means what is rationality and how it is used. Activities conducted are called economic activities, and in order to begin the study of economics as a science, it is necessary and helpful to get clarity about some frequently used concepts and basic terminologies of economics. As we haven't discussed about the economic activities, first of all let me clear the word or the meaning of economic activities. From the half of the first line, it is said over here that in the context of rationality, activities conducted are called economic activities. It means economic activity means all those activities which are done for getting something in return. Likewise, the activity of doctors, advocates, and teachers, if it is done for getting something in a return, then it is called economic activities. So here, the activities conducted are called economic activities, and in order to begin the study of economics as a science, it is necessary and helpful to get clarity about some frequently used concept. So, for these economic activities and understanding of all the topics of economic activity, we should have knowledge regarding, or we should have clarity regarding some of the frequently used concepts and basic terminologies of economics. Second paragraph. This chapter provides a clear understanding of goods, services, and factors. As we are using these terms simultaneously or frequently or in place of one another, first of all we have to clear in our mind regarding the concept of goods, services, and factors. Factors means the factors of production, while the second one is a concepts of and difference between price and value, which will be our today's topic. So today we are going to discuss about the difference between price and value. Then third point is wealth and welfare, and fourth one is a trade cycle. So here in this chapter we are going to discuss these four main points. First one is a goods, services, and factors. Second one is a concept of and difference between price and value. Third one is a wealth and welfare, and fourth one is a trade cycle. So here let us start with page number 11 and point number 2.1, that is price and value. See students, there is basic difference between these two terms, that is price and value. But in our real world, we are using this word interchangeably. Like we never knows what is the exact meaning of price and value, and that's why we are using in place of one another. That's why, first of all, let us clear the points or the meaning of this topic in this particular concepts. First paragraph. In everyday language, we use the word price and value alternatively to denote the same meaning. It means we never differentiate between the word price and value. For instance, we make statements like it means, for instance, or we can say without knowing the exact meaning of price and value, we are using the statement like this good is expensive or this good is valuable, or third one, this good has high price. It means we are making this kind of statements. When these statements are made, they are made without drawing a difference between price and value, because we are using this word as a alternatively or interchangeably in one place of another, and we are thinking that this two word is similar and can be used in place of one another. Now, second paragraph. In economics, the concepts of price and value are different, and it is necessary to first understand the concepts of value. So here, first of all, we'll discuss about the word and meaning value. Value can be understood from two points of views or viewpoints. First one is from viewpoint of use, that called use value, and second one is from viewpoint of exchange, called exchange value. Now let us move forward. This is point number 2.1.1 and page number 12. The use value. The use value is determined by the usefulness of a commodity to a consumer for her or his various needs. Basically, here we are having two values. First one is a use value and second one is a exchange value. First, use value means it is determined by the usefulness of a commodity to a consumer for her or his various needs. It means the thing which is used by us will be the valuable from our point of view. It means sometimes it may happen that the exchange value, or we can say the price of that particular good, is very negligible, or sometimes it may be zero, but their usefulness in our life is very high. And that's why the first point is the use value, which is determined by the usefulness of a commodity to a consumer, means those who are consuming or using this particular goods. For example, food, water, sunlight, etc. So basically the actual value of food is very less or negligible. Water is available free of cost, as we are living in a municipal areas. So it may happen that the municipal asking or municipal is charging some kind of fees for water, but basically it is available free of cost by nature, and of course sunlight is a free of cost. So all these things are having very high use value, but their exchange value is zero or negligible. So have a high use value for all people in general. So this one is the first point, that is use value. Now let us move towards the point number 2.1.2, that is exchange value. This is totally opposite of use value. Sometimes it may happen that the use value of particular good is zero, or we can say it is nearest to zero, because the presence of this kind of good is not at all necessary in our life. But then also we are consuming this kind of goods, and that's why their exchange value is very high. So let's start with the theory part. When a commodity or service is exchanged for another commodity or service, then the worth of one unit of this commodity is measured in terms of the amount of other commodity which it can exchange for. So first of all, the word or the definition given here in the exchange value is similar to the meaning of barter system. Here let us discuss it again. When a commodity or service is exchanged for another commodity or service. So in barter system also it is there that we are exchanging one good or service for another. Then the worth of 1 unit of this commodity, it means the value, or we can say the price of 1 unit of this commodity is measured in terms of the amount of other commodity which it can exchange for. It means we are exchanging something for getting something. It means we have to give something to get something, and such worth is called exchange value. For example, if 1 kg of wheat exchanges for 1 kg of rice, then the exchange value of 1 kg wheat is 1 kg of rice. So this will be the exchange value between two commodities, where if we have to purchase, or if we have to buy, or if we have to exchange one commodity, then we have to sacrifice, or we have to exchange the another commodity. And that's why when we are getting something in return of some goods, then it is called exchange value for that product. Now let us move forward. Point number 2.1.3. Here we are going to discuss about the relationship between use value and exchange value. As I have already mentioned, that use value means all those things which are used by a person or which will be useful for their life, while exchange value means the value which can be used for exchanging one good for another. Now let us discuss some of the similarities or some of the difference and basically the relationship between use value and exchange value. If a commodity has high use value, then it is not necessarily said to have a high exchange value. First of all, in this point, it is discussed over here that if a commodity has high use value, like the value of oxygen in our life, the value of sunlight in our life, then it is not necessarily said to have a high exchange value. Yes, it is right, because the exchange value of these two goods, that is the sunlight and oxygen, is nil. It means there is no exchange value of these things, and also we cannot produce these goods in a factory. But if a commodity has high exchange value, then it surely has some use value. So first relationship is that if a commodity has high use value, then it is not necessary said to have a high exchange value. But if commodity has high exchange value, then it is surely has some use value. It means there will be the high exchange value of gold, silver and other valuable metals. So their exchange value is very high, but there is something called use value in it. It means it can be used for showing your status or prestige value. But remember one thing, that those goods which are having high exchange value is having some kind of use value. It doesn't mean that the goods which having high exchange value will be always having the high use value. Now let us move forward. Line number 3. Exchange value is determined by the scarcity of a source in relation to its need or use. In bracket, scarcity of supply in relation to its demand. Now here something written is like that. Exchange value is determined by the scarcity of a resource in relation to its need or use. Remember, or let's have one example, that we are having the supply of gold and iron both. But the supply of iron is very high. It means the availability of iron is very easy and it can be available in so many sources. That's why the exchange value of iron, in spite of it is a metal same as gold, is very low, while the gold, which is having a prestige value because its supply is very less compared to its demand. So here the exchange value is determined by the scarcity of a resource in relation to its need or use. It means scarcity of supply in relation to its demand. According to one study, in India, every year we are using or we are demanding almost 4,000 tons of gold. Whether it is used for making some kind of ornaments or for investment or any kind, but its supply in relation to its demand is very less. That is, every year we'll be having only 1500 tons of good available. That's why the exchange value of gold is very high compared to the iron. Now let us move forward. Goods are demanded if they have some use value, which we have already discussed that goods are demanded if they have some use value, and if the goods doesn't have any kind of use value, then it's never demanded. And if they are scarce in supply in relation to their demand, or their supply flow in the market is controlled by a few people, then they have a higher exchange value. For example, precious metals, diamonds, etc. So it is continue from third line itself. Goods are demanded if they have some use value and if they are scarce in supply in relation to their demand. It means the demand for these diamonds and precious metal is everywhere, but their supply is limited to some of the countries only, or their supply that is flow in the market is controlled by a few people, then they have a higher exchange value. For example, precious metals, diamonds, etc. Let's take another example. We are having petrol or diesel as a fuel, but their availability is very less in our country. So we have to depend on OPEC countries for the supply of this crude oil. And by that way, that particular good is controlled by a few people, then they have a higher exchange value because it is determined by their own choice and it is determined by the demand and supply variables. So, if the goods are controlled by a very few people, then their exchange value is always higher. On the other hand, if goods are highly useful but have limited supply. Now let us take another point of view or the second side of a coin. If goods are highly useful but have limited supply, then they do not have exchange value or may have very low exchange value. For example, though air and sunlight have very high usefulness in life, they have no exchange value as they are abundant in supply. So basically, after discussing this point, we come to a conclusion that those goods which supply is limited but their demand is higher is having the highest exchange value. But those goods whose supply is also available in a plenty according to its demand have no exchange value. So in first point, we have discussed that exchange value is determined by a scarcity of resource in relation to its need, use or demand. Like we have discussed as an example precious metals, diamonds, etc. Now let us take the another side, that on the other hand, if goods are highly useful, it means the usefulness of these goods is very high in our life but have unlimited supply. It means when the supply is more than demand or the supply is equal to demand, then they do not have exchange value or may have very low exchange value. As we all know that oxygen, sunlight, water is necessary for a life, but as its plenty availability of resources, their exchange value is very negligible, that people are not able to store them, and if they are able to store, then also they not wishes to store them because their availability is plenty and it can be available whenever it is needed. Here in this point they have given example like though air and sunlight have very high usefulness for life, because we cannot imagine a life without air and sunlight. then also they have no exchange value as they are abundant in supply. It means their supply is very high according to its demand, or we can say it will be available every year. So here up to this we have discussed 2 points. First point is that exchange value is determined by the scarcity. It means if the goods supply is very less, then its exchange value is higher. And on another side, if the goods supply is according to its demand, or it can be more than demand, then their exchange value is very lower. In earlier times, even water was a good with high use value but no exchange value, because in earlier times we don't have a bottled water. There was a source of water which is available everywhere in the face or in the light of river, wells, ponds, etc. But today, due to its limited availability, or we can say now people are more prone to these mineral waters. That's why we are having the exchange value of water also. But in earlier times, water was a good with high use value but no exchange value, because it is available everywhere. However, in present times, the availability of water is reducing in relation to its need. It means now we are having a water, but pure and drinkable water is very less and used by people, and so it has started commanding an exchange value. And that's why today we have to buy a water. And if these things will go on like this, if people will not understand the problems and the situation which is caused by high pollution, then we will see the days when we should have to buy our oxygen also. In economics, use of the word value is usually in context of exchange value of a commodity with another commodity. It means the points or the examples or the definition given of use value and exchange value. Out of them, only exchange value is calculated in economics. It means we are using the exchange value only for denoting any of the goods and services in economics. Thus, value means the worth of one unit of a commodity in terms of unit of another commodity in exchange. So after discussing these points, now we will be able to understand the meaning of value, line these statements and denote it as a meaning that value means the worth of one unit of a commodity in terms of unit of another commodity in exchange. So whenever it can be asked in exam, like show the meaning of exchange value, or show the question, or there can be a question like what is the meaning of value, then you have to mention that the value means the worth of one unit of a commodity in terms of unit of another commodity in exchange. And price, as this point is about the value and price, the price means if a commodity is exchanged for money. See the difference here, that value means the worth of one unit of a commodity in terms of another commodity. It means there is no clear cut definition regarding money, or there is no use of money in the exchanging the goods, then that's why that's called the value. But if a commodity is exchanged for money, then such monetary exchange, it means if we are buying a goods or services in exchange of money, then it is termed as price. So if we are having goods and services in exchange of goods and services, it means the value. And if we are having the goods and services in exchange of money, it means price. So price means the exchange value of a commodity measured in terms of unit of currency, while the value means the exchange value or worth of a commodity measured in terms of another commodity. So here it is the basic difference between price and value and the meaning of price and value. Before moving forward, let us discuss some of the examples of these goods. First of all, if we are having a 1 kg of wheat in exchange of 1 kg of rice, then it is the definition or it is the example of value. It means the value means one good exchange for another good, or we can say that one commodity is exchanged for another commodity. It shows the value of that particular product. While if we are taking an example that we are paying money, say for example, I have paid rupees 50 for buying a 1 kg of wheat, then it is called the price. So there is a basic difference between price and value is that it is the exchange value. If one good is exchanged for another good, it means it is having the value. And if one good is exchanged for a money, then this commodity is called as a price between these two goods. Now I think all of you are getting my points. Now let us move forward. We'll be having point number 2.2, that is goods and services. So first of all, let us discuss about the goods. Basically, we are using this word everywhere. Whatever we are purchasing, the word good is associated with that particular commodity. And we never make a differentiate between goods and services. Basically, we never make differentiate between the different types of goods, like whether it is a durable goods or non-durable goods, or we can say it is tangible or intangible, economic or non-economic, anything. But here in economics, we are having a clear-cut definition of goods and services. First one is goods. Commodities which have physical existence are called goods. Line these statements. If it is asked in 1 mark that what is the meaning of goods, or which are the definition, or what is the meaning of a particular commodity, then it is called a good. So commodities which have physical existence, it means all those goods which can be touched and which can be seen from our eyes is called goods. In economics, they are meant to satisfy the needs of consumption. It means all those goods which purchased by us is having some kind of use value in our life, and we are purchasing these goods for satisfying some of the needs of consumption. So goods means all those commodities which have physical existence are called goods, and in economics they are meant to satisfy the need of consumption, like whatever we are using in our life, that is clothes, spectacles, shoes, bracelets, watch, everything is called a good. While services which are intangible, it means we cannot see them and we can't touch them, or do not have a physical existence, it means we cannot quantify them, are called services. In economics, they are meant to satisfy the needs of human life. So here it is the basic difference between these two is given, like commodities which have physical existence are called goods, while all those commodities which are intangible, or we can say do not have physical existence, are called services. Second point is that in economics, goods are meant to satisfy the need of consumption, while in services, in economics, they are meant to satisfy the needs of human life. It means it not satisfying our particular need of consumption, but it can facilitate our different needs of human life. Economics studies activity pertaining to production, consumption and distribution of goods or services. The nature of goods and services is different, though both are important in economics. So we will discuss about this goods and services and all these points from next lecture onwards also. Today we are concluding our lecture over here, and we have discussed about the meaning of price and value, types of different value, that is use value and exchange value, and relationship between use value and exchange value. Thank you very much, class.